Okay, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. We're going to call the Richmond City Council meeting Monday, January 30th, 2023 to order. May I have a motion on the minutes? Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, opposed, carried. Madam Clerk, any agenda additions or deletions?
Yes, Your Worship, we have two agenda corrections on page CNCL6 under the bylaws. The first bylaw, 10429, has opposition. Councillor Au voted in opposition. And a further correction on that same page, report item 12 should actually be noted as item 13.
All right, may I have a motion on the agenda with that change, those changes? Moved and seconded. All those in favor, opposed, carried. May I have a motion to resolve in the committee of the whole to hear delegations on items on the agenda? All those in favor, opposed, carried. We do have what we had thought was someone coming in remotely on item 13, which is the soil bylaw. Daryl Zabitnoff, is he here or is he online? Okay, we're not seeing him. Is there anybody here who wishes to speak to us on an item on the agenda this evening? Okay, may I have a motion? Okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Brings us to the consent agenda. First of all, we have receipt of committee minutes. Then we have the 2022 annual report and the 2023 work program for the Richmond Seniors Advisory Committee and the Richmond Advisory Committee on the Environment. Next is the application to the Bloomberg Initiative for Cycling Infrastructure Grant, a proposed amendment to the traffic bylaw 5870 to remove 60 kilometers per hour speed zones, amendments to the recycling regulation and the Recycle BC program, and finally the progress update on the Buildings Benchmark BC program. May I have a motion to adopt those by general consent? Moved and seconded. Okay, we'll go to Councillor Wolf. Just a minute. There you go.
Great. Thank you, Your Worship. I'll just speak on a few, or most of the items. Item number 9, the application to the Bloomberg Initiative for Cycling Infrastructure. We're really looking for seeking further finances for a $2.4 million project. And this is about a $400,000 grant that we're looking for. I think it's a great way to get this project completed with a better support from outside funding. So that's great. Item number 10, we just received today a great timely letter from the Chief Medical Officer, our Health Officer, Mina Dewar, supporting the recommendation before us to remove the 60-kilometer speed zones from 4 sections in the city. I remember a few years back when I heard from many residents in such sections of number 6 road and their concerns with not just speeding cars but large trucks. And also many of these areas are adjacent to the highway where vehicles have been used to driving fast and it's been concerning and also overlapping with some of the traffic hotspots. So I think there's so many benefits to making these changes, and I'm glad that Public Works and Transportation Committee, we supported this. It will do a number of things, not just to reduce the potential for injury and fatalities from collisions with vehicles, but also it could improve capacity on our roads as vehicles would ideally be all driving at a lower speed. Item number 11, the Recycling Regulation and Recycling BC program amendments. Great to have that new list of items, and now for all of us homeowners and renters and users of our facilities, what is not garbage has changed once again. So it's important for us to use the educational opportunity that our staff are ready and able to do. They've already updated everything or most things online, and we'll be making more communication efforts with commercial haulers and the school district and other major partners in the city. And finally, the last item I'll just speak to is number 12. That's the Building Benchmark BC program, where we're seeking more support from the province. We heard at Public Works and Transportation Committee that 108 buildings in Richmond have energy benchmarking status. We also heard that our district energy, the data that we get from that has given us, quantified the need to get support and more large buildings and small buildings in the benchmark program. And also staff looking into ways to recognize those who have been early adopters through perhaps an award or recognition event. And we also are looking to fund or fill the positions that we've previously approved, and that's going to be a challenge as all the neighboring municipalities are all seeking the same expertise to get the work done that's needed. So with that, I support all the items in the consent agenda. Thanks.
Okay, Councillor McNulty.
Thank you, Worship. Just make a few comments on a couple of matters. First of all, I want to thank the staff for the reports on the Seniors Advisory Committee, and thank all the members of the committee for all the good work that they've done and dealing with seniors. If you can look at our various pages from 47 to 52, all the good work that committee's done. So I thank the membership there. And also in terms of the environment, the Committee on the Environment, giving us some guidance and comments with regard to the flood protection plans and the spill response protocol and a few other things, and looking at it. So I think it's very important. These, all the committees are very important, but the Committee on the Environment is going to be extremely important as we continue to tackle climate change and to get the response and get that citizens' input. If you look on page 57, all the things that they have been involved in, and also page 56, Your Worship. So kudos to them and a huge thank you. I have a question through you of staff. On the cycling infrastructure grant, I'm glad we're going to compete with the big boys, as we call it. I call it. It'd be interesting who we're going to. If we don't get the grant, can we still do the project?
Through Your Worship, Councillor McNulty, yes, we can. The project has been funded by Council and with help from TransLink at this point in time.
Okay. And is it a priority, through you again, Your Worship, is it a priority with TransLink? Is it, how high on their totem pole do they see this project?
Through Your Worship to Councillor McNulty, it's actually important to them. It's just off of their broader cycling network.
Okay, thank you very much. I too want to make a few comments about the proposed traffic bylaws. Your Worship, over the, we know speed kills, and we know this is a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. When I travel down Westminster Highway, I go even at 6:30 in the morning. I go down Steveston Highway or Westminster Highway at other times, and the airplanes pass me. The jets are still going. I just can't believe the speed that people go at any time of the morning and noon. I believe on this one, and I do support it, and I'm glad to see the responses we're getting from the community, what have you. We are going to need a very vigorous communication tool on this to let people know that there is speed reduction. Because people, obviously at the moment, even with the 60 in the various places, I'm being facetious when I say the jets and the airplane, but those are the hot cars, and you'd be surprised who's driving them. And they're not all, 17 or 18-year-old males with a hot foot. So I think it's generally everybody that forgets where they go. So I don't know if that is entailed in that, Your Worship, whether staff take it under advisement, but I really believe working with the RCMP and our traffic people that we need a very vigorous communication to let people know, and ongoing and on reminders. So, and I was very pleased to see our medical health officer, as was mentioned earlier, endorse what we are doing. It's extremely important on that. We can't say enough about the recycling program. I think the fact that the work charge is open 7 days a week, we're doing the flexible plastics, the bags and overwrap and everything else, and the list that we have in there, I think it's great. I would like to see us think about moving into commercial recycling and industrial recycling within the community. I think it's high time that we got into that area. The citizens seem to be doing their bit. People are down there, and many of you are down there. I see you on a Saturday or a Sunday or in a day in the week. I think just with our work yard, but I also think that we have to tackle the other, and something I guess can be done in Public Works. I brought up a Public Works to the chair to put it on the agenda and to have it, or we look at it in its totality. But I think it's extremely important. And just my last comment quickly, Your Worship, is because the benchmarking, I'm glad we're leading it. I'm sitting on the climate committee at Metro Vancouver. They keep talking about this particular thing, but they're not moving into it as much as they should. And I look at the list on page CNCL 78. In 2022, those reporting building data, there's only 9 of the 22 organizations in Metro Vancouver reporting data, which actually surprises me. And so I'll be bringing it up at the next meeting to say where, what's happening with the other cities and districts within Metro Vancouver. I'm glad to see 20 organizations doing this, and I support it. A question to you and staff. How soon can we get the staff hired for this particular project? I think it's important that we know we do it, and while the staff are coming down, I think we also need to get the development and the public involved in the whole concept. And again, another communication to our development community that we're embarking down the road on this, and we're putting our resources to it, and I hope that they will follow suit. So when are these 2 positions getting to you two staff?
Through your worship to Councillor McNulty, our objective is to have the staff in place in Q2 of this year.
So April, May, June?
Hopefully April.
All right,
April-ish.
all right. The money is there, is it not? It's in the bank?
Yes, it is, Councillor.
Okay, I look forward to it. Keep up the good work, and thank you for all that you're doing, and thanks staff for what they're doing. Thank you, Your Worship.
Okay, just on the speed zones, I think that we could give direction to staff that we do need a communication plan for the speed zones. I see Mr. Adams nodding his head, so I'll take that as being done. If the minutes could reflect that, please. All right, Councillor Liu.
Thank you, Worship. I too will be supporting everything on tonight's consent agenda. I have a couple comments and a question of staff. This Bloomberg initiative for the multi-use path, for the bike path extending from Steveston Highway to Williams, I think it's really going to be great. I'm so glad that we're doing this, and I'm so glad that we're able to get funding to help support it for us. And I think this opens up the ability for all the Westwind and others south of Steveston to be able to get to Steveston, London. So right now we have a multi-use path that goes essentially from the dike all the way to Steveston Highway and then dead ends. So hopefully once we get the Steveston multi-use path that goes along Steveston Highway and this one going north up to Williams, I think that'll open up things for students to get going, for people to get out on their bikes and to be traveling more. I know we saw something like a 300% increase in people on the Railway Greenway on their bicycles, just as in March when the pandemic began. And I think once we start getting more bike lanes going and connecting to other bike lanes so that you can actually get somewhere once you get on that bike lane, people will be moving around better. And so I'm excited for this. I'm also excited that we're slowing people down with the traffic bylaw, moving everything to 50. So it'll be a reminder to everybody. So if you're on Steveston Highway or anywhere else, you got to slow down. And then it becomes even safer for everybody out on their bikes and the pedestrians out there. And so that everyone can move, more people can move around on their bikes, and everyone can be safe on the roads of Richmond. Thank you. Oh, sorry, my question was, when will this be built? When will the multi-use path get built?
Are you talking about Steveston Highway or the one that we're talking about on the agenda?
One on the agenda.
Okay.
Because I think it was supposed to be designed last year, and then we're supposed to be able to build it this year, is that correct?
Through your worship, to Councillor Liu, to be honest, I think engineering might be in a better position to answer that question than I am.
Through your worship, Councillor Liu, I'm not certain of the schedule, but we can definitely advise tomorrow.
Thank you.
All righty, Councillor Hobbs.
Oh, thank you, and through the chair, just a couple of quick comments. I'll be supporting everything on the consent agenda as well. First, with the Richmond Advisory Committee on the Environment and the 2022 annual report and the 2023 work plan, there's just some really good information in there. I know we probably all get a lot of questions on flood protection, and recently there was a survey regarding the public's satisfaction with what the city is doing. So that's very important. The solid waste recovery and the Alexander District Energy Plant, that's a really good place for people to check out. I actually went on a tour of that just recently, and it was actually fascinating and very informative on how that actually operates. Emergency preparedness, and another plug again for the Community Energy and Emissions Plan 2050. That has a lot of excellent information in there, and I'd recommend looking that up online for anybody who has an interest in that. With the 60-kilometer speed zone changes, obviously I've worked with that kind of thing a lot in my past. You know, in Richmond, we had a few 60K zones. We even had one on Garden City up until not that recently, and or not that long ago. And it's just a time for those to disappear. Richmond has changed a lot. So a number 6 road that Councillor Wolf was just talking about, back in the day, that would have been farmland, not as densely developed with industry and different vehicles. And even just the number of vehicles we have on our roads now in Richmond are so much greater than it was in the 60s and 70s. So traffic volumes, density, 50K on our streets in Richmond everywhere is appropriate. And the day of the 60K speed zones on Richmond roads is long past. So I fully support that. With the amendments to the recycling regulation and the recycle program, that's great news too for the Blue Box and recycling. But the other thing I just wanted to mention was the job that staff has done and the city has done on education and on timing and in the phased implementation of different aspects of going greener. I think that's been a very good way to go, and I think we've seen a lot of voluntary compliance and success with different businesses and organizations in Richmond, and I think that'll continue. Thank you.
All right, Councillor Au.
Your Worship, I just want to comment on 3 items. The first one is number 7, this Richmond Seniors Advisory Committee 2022 annual report and 2023 work program. First of all, I thank the committee for their work. I think they provide very important experience. Advice to the city. For one, Richmond is people are living the longest in Canada, and also we have an increasing seniors population. And I noticed with interest on page CNCL 48, the 3rd bullet from the top, the Aging Well Subcommittee. I think this is, and this is the committee. The subcommittee has been operating in this 2nd year. And I look at the areas of the concern. I think it's a good approach because they advocate for a holistic approach and trying to gather information from different perspectives. And I noticed that the topics include such as affordable housing, homelessness, ageism, cost of living, safety, and particularly the safety and walkability in Richmond. Now, I think safety is a very important issue for many seniors, and I would take that for safety, it includes traffic safety, seniors being the victims of crime, and also victims of family violence. And I noticed that many seniors were victims of crime, including family violence. So I hope that we can help the seniors to prevent becoming a victim. And also for road safety, I'm concerned that sometimes seniors could be victims of traffic accidents. And I think one thing is missing from the list is health. If you talk about holistic approach, I think health is a very important aspect of seniors living. And as I talk to many seniors, their major concern is that they do not have family doctors. So I think this is a very urgent issue, and I think we need to bring it to the attention to the provincial government that they need to do something to address the lack of family doctors for the seniors. And when I look into the work plan for 2023, I think those are very good, and I look forward to listening from this committee for their further recommendations to council. The second item is about Richmond Advisory Committee on the Environment. Again, I'm very excited. Thank you for the report. I'm very excited about what they have done in the past year. And I'm particularly excited that for the 2023 work plan, out of the 17 items that they list, 6 of them were related to parks. So I think this is very good. So about one-third of what they're looking for in 2023 is related to parks. And as a chairperson of the Parks and Recreations Committee, I am very encouraged by the number of items that they put onto their work list for the next year. And finally, I want to talk about the change of the speed limits. And much has been already spoken, and I know that there are people who have a different opinion about speed limits, and there might even be people who just want to do away with any speed limits. But I think what we're doing right now in this recommendation is that we're trying to harmonize the differences of speed limits in the city, and I think that is going to help to reduce the confusion of the people when they're driving. So with that, I support everything on the consent agenda.
All right, Councillor Day.
Sweet. Thank you very much. So, yeah, we'll be supporting everything on the consent agenda as well. Just a correction on the item committee minutes for the General Purposes Committee meeting. General Purposes Committee, it incorrectly stated that the election sign amendments item was written by staff, but it was written by Mayor Malcolm Brody. So that will be corrected in the minutes next week on the General Purposes Committee meeting. With regards to the item number 7, the Seniors Advisory Committee, this is a really good example of how successful a group can be. I'm the liaison to this committee, and they brought in speakers during this last year from Richmond Cares, Richmond Gives, Richmond Center for Disability, Success, TransLink, Richmond Food Bank, and all those speakers help to educate and advocate for the things that we need in the community. And I couldn't be more proud of those seniors. They are really, really putting in a lot of time and energy into that group. Number 9 is the application to Bloomberg. Well, we have a shot at the money. 10 cities across the world will be given between, I think it's up to $1 million for cycling and other infrastructure items. Maybe we'll get the money, maybe we won't, but I'm thrilled that staff has put an excellent grant proposal together. And the key is that in order to qualify for that $400K to $1 million, it has to be shovel ready. And since we've already approved the improved bike lane on number 2 road between Steveston Highway and Williams, that's got a shot. You never know. It would be great if we got the money. Item number 10 is the 60-kilometer speed zones. I have been guilty of driving 60 kilometers where you weren't supposed to because it's confusing. Like, for example, on Westminster Highway, it's 60 kilometers between 4 Road and 6 Road, but not elsewhere. Vulcan Way, number 6 Road, 46 meters east of Bath Slough, and on Alder Bridge from Ford to Shell Road, but not anywhere else. So rather than have this confusion, I think it's in the best interest of commuters and the police that we have one speed limit. Let's keep it simple. And I just wanted to ask a question of staff, because I understood when we discussed this in Public Works and Transportation Committee, that when we lower the speed limit, it actually has an effect on the amount of cars that can travel on the road.
Yeah, through your worship to Councillor Day, absolutely, there's a lot of study and documented evidence that says that the capacity of a roadway does go up as the speed limit goes down to a point, like within limits, but seems to maximize at around 25 miles an hour or 40 kilometers an hour at the lower bound, and the upper bound of these studies is usually around 70 kilometers an hour.
So we'll be able to get more cars through with a lower speed limit. Thank you. Number 11 is the amendments to the recycling program. Now, this is exciting. We talked a lot about this in Public Works as well. So in your blue box, you're going to be able to put things like plastic bowls and cups, straws. You're going to be able to put aluminum foil, non-durable plastic food containers, metal storage containers, plant pots and saucers, disposable hangers, and plastic tape dispensers and plastic dental floss containers, all in your blue box. And it's not the province of BC that's educating us, it's actually us educating them. All of these items, many of them were recyclable at the workshard or at the recycling depot, but now we can do it in our blue box. So it's going to be exciting to see how much easier it is for people to do the right thing and to recycle and reuse. Number 12 is the update report on the benchmark program. So many people have said, what is the benchmark program? Well, it's when buildings voluntarily tell us how much they're spending on energy. And then what we do with the help of Hydro, we go out and tell them how they can reduce their energy costs. And amazingly, they will often reduce their energy costs by 7 to 14%. So what we'd really like to see is more and more buildings partake in this benchmark program, because it would make a huge difference. So in the Public Works and Transportation Committee meeting, we moved that a letter be sent to the provincial government to request assistance to promote the Building Benchmark BC program. We spend so much time and energy trying to bring down the amount of energy we use when we're building new buildings, but the reality is the old buildings can also reduce their impact on the environment by simply doing little things like having barriers so they don't blow all the heat out the building. And it's going to be exciting to see if we can get the province to encourage building owners. And then one of the things we talked about was how do we increase awareness? Well, the sewer bills and the tax bills will be going out soon, so we are talking about potentially sending out an invitation to the buildings to become part of the benchmark program so that we can encourage business owners and building owners to get involved and to save those energy dollars. So thank you, that's it for me.
Councillor Heat.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to make a comment regarding the speed limit. And we're only talking about 4 locations here. We don't have, a magic wand where all of a sudden, because we're going to lower 4 locations from 60 to 50, which it should be, I'm in support of that. But let's not think that we're automatically going to stop speeding here in Richmond. Speed is a factor, especially outside of rush hour zones in every municipality, not just Richmond. So the chief superintendent's here. She is quite well aware of this. It's the enforcement part of it is going to stop it. And how we develop that or be creative in that enforcement part of it, that's going to change the behavior. But just because we're taking 4 locations and putting it down to 50, let's not think that the magic wand is going to stop people from speeding. I think realistically, we've got to leave it up to the RCMP, and they can be creative in their enforcement. And I just want to put on record that I am a big supporter of radar cameras. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. With that, we're going to call the question on the motion. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Brings us to the item that is off the consent agenda, the soil or fill use application for the property 8251 Number 5 Road. The General Purposes Committee recommended that the soil or fill use application submitted by Harry Garcha, proposing to retain soil for the purpose of improving the agricultural capability of the property located at 8251 Number 5 Road, be authorized for referral to the Agricultural Land Commission for the ALC to review and determine the merits of the proposal from an agricultural perspective, as the applicant has satisfied all of the city's current reporting requirements And I would so move.
Second.
So it's moved and seconded. I think we'll go directly to comments or questions on that. We'll go to Councillor Galanders.
Thank you, Your Worship. I do have, some unease with this application, just simply because it was, the property was essentially dumped on 200 truckloads, and now this is an application to bring it into compliance. It's difficult because in the report from staff, it doesn't mention, that it was this owner that did bring the illegal soil onto his own property. So there was a bunch of questions, was it already there? We had to call and ask and find out more. So I think it would have helped to have more information, because I'm okay with, I've voted in favor of soil applications, if they're gonna improve the property, and we are looking at raising our land in general, if it's going to be good for agriculture. But we do want this to be done by farmers who we trust to complete the project properly. So in this case, I don't think that, I'd like to know, were there any fines issued to this owner for bringing the illegal soil?
Through your worship to Councillor Galanders, there were no fines that were issued. There was a stop work order, and there was a process in which the subject of the complaint was told about how to come into compliance.
Mm-hmm. So I do have an issue with that, just because now, there's been staff resources have had to work on this, and our time and everything else, and this owner is going through the same process that an owner who didn't dump goes through as far as costs go. So I don't want to send the message to our community that anything goes on farmland, and go ahead, just do it. You got the soil now, dump it, and you can do an application later. It costs the same either way. I think that we need to have a deterrent in there. I think there needs to be a message sent that wasn't okay, just to prevent this happening in the future. So that's sort of where I'm at with it. I'm okay with the ALC looking at it and the property getting cleaned up, but I'm not okay with how we're handling it on our end, because I do know that there are dozens of these being investigated as we speak. I don't want to see all of them, come in with their own applications and making it look like it's for agricultural purposes when it wasn't. It doesn't look good. So I don't know what I'm proposing, but that's where I'm at with it.
Okay, Councillor Hobbs. Just hang on a sec. Oh, brother, hang on, sorry. There you are.
Thank you, and through the chair, just so people know, in this case, green doesn't mean go, red means go, so that's what the delay was. But with this application, I voted for it at committee, but I did have some concerns as well, and I too, like Councillor Galanders, don't want to send mixed messages or give people the wrong idea. Initially, for instance, it didn't click on the fact that it is the same owner. I thought it had been sold, so that was one difference that staff has clarified for me since, so thank you. But one of the issues for me as well is with the fill that was put on in an unauthorized way, the concern I have is with the quality of that soil. I know there's a very technical report attached, and I can read parts of it and understand a little bit of it, but I'd like you to explain what the fill is that went on to the site, unauthorized as it was, and whether or not there's any risk and reason at this stage for us to remove it for very sound environmental reasons.
Through your worship to Councillor Hobbs, the specific analysis of the soils laid out on CNCL 108. There are no concerns that were raised by the qualified professionals, and primarily those concerns are around foreign or prohibited materials. In this case, they were less than 1%, and there were no findings of foreign materials. So these are the criteria that we would have for a normal soil application process.
Sure, because for me, if somebody dumps soil that is contaminated or in some way unsuitable, I would be very much in favor of requiring that person to clean it up before they did anything else. But if I understand it correctly now, the soil that was put in place, unauthorized as it was, is consistent with the kind of soil that would have been put there if it was authorized. Is that fair?
Through your worship to Councillor Hobbs, that is fair, and that is the analysis of the qualified professionals as well.
Okay. Now, with the bond that's put down, the security that's put down, you can see in the report is $15,000. And when you look at the other examples on page 85, you can see that other ones are more. And so when it comes to somebody doing something unauthorized, there's a tendency for me to want to have them pay a fine or pay a penalty or have some effect based on their actions. But when I look at that amount, it seems to be that that amount is based on the size of the property, the complexity of the application itself. And so it's actually based on those kind of criteria, not on any kind of punitive action or anything like that. And it is, after all, only a deposit.
Through your worship to Councillor Hobbs, the volume fees are laid out in the consolidated fees bylaw, and it's roughly $5 per cubic meter. And there's a mandatory minimum of 15,000, which applies in this case, and there's a mandatory maximum of 200,000. And there's a certain amount of discretion that goes in to these volume fees, but it's primarily based on volume.
Yeah. All right. Well, just to wrap up, yeah, I'm not thrilled with people doing something in an unauthorized fashion and then coming back to us. It is relevant to me that the soil is basically essentially similar to what would have been put there in an authorized application. But, you know, I'll likely support it, but I will listen to what other people have to say on this too and then see. Thank you.
Councillor Howe.
Yes, Your Worship. Well, similar to Councillor Hobbs, I supported the application for going forward, but I also have concerns about the way it was being handled. I share the same feeling that this cannot be seen as an encouragement for people to do something illegal first and then try to have us support it later. Now, I want to know how often, or are there any measures in place that we, from time to time, remind farm owners about what they can do on their farm and what they cannot do? Either the city or whether or not the ALC would remind those farm owners. Just in the last few days, I received two complaints from people, from residents in the area saying, okay, they saw their neighbors having a farm, got the trees clear out. So, okay, is that, legal? And also given the fact that many farmlands have changed hands in the last few years, and some of the new owners may not know what they can do and what they cannot do. So do we have something in place to remind those people, like, if you give out the assessment or the tax notice every year, shall we remind them, as a farm owner, you have to do this to take care of the farmland. So, so what do we have in place?
Through your worship to Councillor Howe, we do have proactive patrols. I might add, in this case, it was a proactive investigation that uncovered the unpermitted soil deposition. And part of our patrols, we do remind our clients within the ALR of the requirements, but we can work with corporate communications to push out more proactive messaging.
Yeah, I think we need to do something about that. I know that some people just might do something like this out of ignorance, but some people might, take advantage of the loopholes, so to speak, in the system. So I hope that we can have something in place to remind farm owners that what their responsibility are in terms of taking care of the farmland. Thank you.
Councillor Day.
Thank you very much, Mayor Brody. So I'd like to draw everybody's attention to the difference in the maps on 107 to 108. If you look at the map on 107, it's the aerial view of looks like a very healthy farm with all kinds of, looks like blueberry bushes would be my best guess. And underneath it says March 2004. Then we go to the aerial view on page 108. and we have a pit area 3, pit area 1, and a pit area 2. Now, the front of the property remains relatively unchanged. So that's a significant difference when you look at what the farm used to look like and what it looks like today. So my question is regarding the timeline. We know that in 2004, it looked like a normal farm. Do we know when the dumping was done?
Through your worship to Councillor Day, we do not have a precise date on when the dumping was done.
Okay, and when was the stop order applied? Stop work order?
Through your worship to Councillor Day, I believe it was in the spring of 2022.
2022, so just recently, okay. And so there was, according to the report, there was 200 truckloads brought into this pit area 3. Did the owner receive tipping fees for that soil, dirt, fill?
Through your worship to Councillor Day, staff is not aware of whether the owner received tipping fees, but it would be within a probable reason to surmise that there were tipping fees.
You know, it seems to me that we had a viable farm, and then we brought in 200 loads of soil or dirt or whatever it is now, which is potentially usable. Whatever they made in tipping fees, we should be charging them in a fine. Fair is fair. We've got to send a message that you can't get away with this, because when you look at the difference between the aerial on 107 and 108, that's criminal. And so I'm really unhappy that we didn't find them. And I don't mean to point fingers here, but why didn't we find them?
Through your worship to Councillor Day, I may just make a correction.
Yeah.
The actual letter of notice from the ALC and staff investigation occurred in the fall of 2021.
2021, okay, all right. So I realize we want to get compliance and all that, but if we don't make this owner accountable, what will stop the next person from doing the exact same thing?
Through your worship to Councillor Day, in addition to the complaint-based system, we do have proactive patrols. And in this case, this particular investigation did uncover the unpermitted soil deposition. So those proactive patrols are still in place and they still represent a potential deterrent.
Well, we can't be everywhere, can we? And if it wasn't for people reporting a lot of this dumping, how many would we find? So I'm uncomfortable letting this just go to the ALC without some kind of cause and effect. So if we could agree to impose a fine for illegal dumping, then send it to ALC to make sure it gets remediated properly, I'd be a lot more comfortable. So I don't know whether that's an amendment to this or if we have to refer this back to staff, but would you be able to tell me now, without going back and looking at the information, what a potential fine could be?
Through your worship to Councillor Day, in this particular circumstance, the fines can range from $500 for a bylaw violation notification upwards to thousands of dollars under the long-form prosecution. The other potential issue would be to have a removal order, and then in that case, the applicant would be on the hook for the entire cost of that removal order.
But from what I understand, the soil that was brought in isn't total crap. It's actually usable, that we can work with what's there.
Through your worship to Councillor Day, that is the opinion of the qualified professionals.
That's the golden egg there.
All right,
I'd like to refer this back to look at the possibility of imposing a fine and then approving it going to the ALC.
I'll ask for our lawyer to give us advice, or we can go into a closed meeting if we need to. Can you tell, is it up to council to direct fines of that sort?
Through your worship, I think this matter would best be addressed and closed.
All right. All right, so what we'll do is we will finish the discussion here, and then we will excuse people, and we will go into a closed meeting to get some more advice on this situation. Councillor Wolf.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a few further comments from what's already been said. Yeah, I did oppose this General Purposes Committee, and definitely not pleased with all the further information we've learned since then. Just to highlight a couple additional things. That we had patrols and we have staff time that go out to find cases like this and implement stop work orders, but that costs the city, costs taxpayers. The wear on the roads of 200 unauthorized vehicles full of fill, and the potential safety concerns and the need to replace road asphalt, that costs the city, the taxpayers. Reading into the security deposits, and like that's the minimum that they could be charged. And then would they get it all back anyway if they go through with the project? And then there's really only one fee as it stands right now that they would not be able to refund, and it's $1,100, which is $1 per cubic meter of unauthorized fill that they added. If that's the cost of doing business, then surely more of the remaining few agricultural properties will likely follow this trend. I think it's would be inappropriate to, for myself at least, to have this go to the ALC without council opposition. I would like to see some other options rather than opposing someone who wants to farm. Finding ways to incentivize that this property could actually become a farm status property, not just some blueberry plants on top of this fill. I would also note that in the report, there's no environmental sensitive area highlighted in this area, but the report also highlights that there's hummocks of peat, which is the most natural form of bog ecology you find in Richmond. And so perhaps another, if not adding a fine to the site, correcting our environmental sensitive area maps to actually include the portion, I think it's site or area 4 or something on this map. Maybe we could add an ESA to the site, and in addition to them planting blueberries and not getting farm status, they would have environmental or ecological status, because they would rehabilitate some of the sphagnum peat soil that they're planning to scrape up, mulch up, and mix with all this other fill. So I would say that might be another option going forward. I know it would be innovative and never been done before, but I think that's where we're at when we're dealing with a limited resource. So I'll leave it at that for now.
Councillor McNulty, you had a point?
Yeah, I'd like to, through you to Mr. Carnett. I'm trying to find here, we have a map from 2004 on page CNCL 107. We have a map on page 108. We don't know what the date of that is. Now, from 2004 to now is 18 years. Do we have a history of what's happened on that particular piece of property in the files that wouldn't be here that the city has? When did the fill actually get put in? And when did the previous crops get removed? Do we know that?
Through your worship to Councillor McNulty, I can get back to you with that information. One of the typical investigated pathways that staff use is to look at the Richmond Interactive Maps. Those are satellite photos, and each one of those years is cataloged. So a comparison of the photos can determine roughly within a year when the soil would have been deposited.
As well, and I appreciate that, and as well, I guess my question as well, what were the rules during that time for removal, fill, etc.? And was any permission for the fill given by the ALC? I guess what I'm trying to get is established facts here as opposed to, yeah, I don't like it because somebody put it in. We've got to be very thorough. If we're just going to throw, and if it's illegal, somebody's done something wrong, we need to do it. But we also have to know was it done under any circumstances that we don't know about? And I'm concerned about that because the rules today on agricultural land and fill, and we have the Kavanaugh example, which many members of this council voted against, who went through everything. If we follow those, we will have viable farms along the way with regard to fill, et cetera, et cetera. So I want to make sure we're on the right path to what we're doing. And I'm not sure I have that information in that, and your report's a good report, don't get me wrong, and so is the report from the agrologist. But following along, I want to see a viable farm. And if we can get this up to farming, we're not going to get it with a big stick clobbering somebody, even though the situation is such now. But we might do some other things and have other requirements on it. But what they are, I don't know at this stage. So,
Do we know what happened when?
no.
To your worship, we have a rough timeline of when we believe that this occurred. We did have a change in ownership, and we can provide more information to council when we go back and conduct that
That's the
investigation.
next question I was going to ask. Has this person owned this particular property from 2004? You said a change in ownership. You started to go, who did what?
Who put this fill on the
Who put
property?
and here we go again. So we're going to find the guy that wants to farm and put a plan in front of us when the person,
Well, let's
we
find-
don't know.
Who
We don't know.
put
So,
fill on?
I'm very concerned if,
Who put the fill on?
To your worship, the subject of the complaint has admitted to staff that he was responsible for depositing the soil. The precise date of when the soil was deposited is not known to staff.
so he admitted it.
That's correct.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, because we've seen many cases in the past where someone brings lousy fill onto the place, then a new owner comes on and
Put
wants to
topsoil
take
on.
it off or do something else with it.
Yeah.
All right,
I have,
so those are all the comments for the time being. I'm going to recess this meeting. We'll go into closed meeting. I'll excuse everybody except those who are directly involved in this situation. I'll excuse all the public, and any others who are not directly involved in the situation will get some legal advice.